Okay, folks, it's snowy, it's cold outside here in Maryland, and it's a good time to plant some seeds tonight by the moon. But did you know black and brown people across the world are reconnecting to their roots and redefining their relationships to the land? By gardening and farming, and Black Gardener Talk is dedicated to sharing those voices to inspire all people of color, and maybe even some that don't look like us, to grow by any means necessary. But sometimes we just need our own safe space to talk. Good morning, I'm Kamani Anku, and this is Black Gardener Talk, and my guest today is Doug Adams from New Brooklyn Farms. Let's get him in the room because he is here and ready to go. That's what I'm talking about right there. Plant some seeds because you'll be growing by the moon. If you had a grandma, she told you, grow by the moon. What up?
On time, baby.
Yeah, yeah, I like that on time thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How
How
you
you
doing?
feeling this morning?
Oh man, I'm blessed, man. I cannot complain. How about
I'm
yourself?
doing well, doing well. I got my little lychee cherry coconut smoothie. So yeah,
Oh
I'm ready.
man, those cherries you grew
They
or what?
are actually like this tart cherry. They said the tart cherries are good for you. Dark tart cherries. Yeah. So I got those and I just had a bunch of them this year for some reason. And I decided to freeze them and make a smoothie.
Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it, man. That's amazing. I'm just doing some regular old water, man. I'm just gonna do my best not to catch cottonmouth.
Okay,
That's
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 that's the
what's up
best.
too.
That's the
That's
best
a
I
good
can
thing.
do today, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
a
I can
good thing
muster up.
too. I always start off with a garden question, but because it's New Brooklyn Farms and you might be still in New York right now, who is your favorite Brooklyn rapper?
Oh man, honestly, a lot of people may not be familiar with this guy, but my favorite is a Brooklyn rapper by the name of AZ.
Okay.
Not Jay Z.
AZ. I know AZ.
You know AZ? All
Yeah.
right, all right. So you an old school dude then, if you know AZ. Nah, AZ is a personal goat. Um, just a real fly, lyrical dude that I've been rocking with for years. A lot of people know him through Nas. If you don't know about AZ, highly recommend you go check him out.
Big
One
Rich
of my
said
favorite rappers.
Big Rich said the firm.
Yep. Member of the firm,
And
indeed. Yep.
what was that one song he had with that girl? I forgot her
Sugar
name.
Hill.
Jones
That's his
somebody.
biggest hit.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, Sugar Hill is probably what
Sugar
you're
Hill.
talking about.
That song. That joint
Exactly.
was yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, as far as music, I know we talked, and I know you have a background in the music industry, as do I. We'll get to that, but I gotta really kick this off. As soon as I open up my Instagram, the hottest person that's blending music and farming culture is Khalees by far, man.
Oh,
She's
definitely.
yeah, she's taking over. You got to get her on here next, man.
I'm trying to. So I am doing something March 23rd in DC called the Black Women in
Oh,
Agriculture event, and I'm trying to get her. We do talk frequently.
nice.
Um,
I didn't know that. You ho-
but that
you
money, I
hoard
gotta get that. I gotta get that money.
you hoarding certain relationships. I thought you was a spread love dude. You over here, you got Khalees on the DMs and stuff, man. That's
Yeah, it
crazy.
Well, it was funny. I was on Clubhouse a couple years ago, and she actually joined the Clubhouse, and then she started following me, and then I was like, you know what? I loved you from the beginning, and I want to work with you. Let's do some farming stuff. Let's talk farming. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, oh, come on, get on the live with me. She's like, oh, I'll think about it. But then I was like, can you come when you in DC? Let's do something. She's like, you gotta have that money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We'll connect further offline
Oh
about
yeah.
that. But that's great. You got that plug.
So yeah, maybe it could be a Garden Beats and New Brooklyn Farm
Come on,
collaboration
come
and
on.
have her out there.
I need star power. We
Yeah. Well, we're
yeah.
gonna talk about this Maryland Black Farmers Business Acceleration program, and you know how much money that carries. Well, let's get right into it because the people are here. I don't want to hold the people because when I got a bunch of people, I want to grab their attention right off the break. But what is your first memories of gardening?
Uh, First memories of gardening was probably being dragged to the boring nursery store with my mom in like kindergarten or first grade, going to this weird plant store that smelled funny, and she's buying flowers and tomatoes and things that I could have cared less about at that age. That's probably my earliest memories.
Okay. And from there to New Brooklyn Farms, how did that come about? I mean, you said you was bored. You know, you didn't really want to go. It smells funny in the store, but now here we are. Um, some
Here
years
we are.
later.
Yeah. I live in those stores now. I live in the garden and plant section of Lowe's and Home Depot. So
What
it's come
changed
a long.
your mind though? What hit you to change your mind? Because Black Gardener Talk, I mean, in my little opener, I always said we reconnecting back to our roots and we redefining our relationships with the land. So there must have it had to been some transition to make you want to go and then start this farm.
Well, the reconnection honestly was I'll say this. It started in my adult years. As I grew up, I really wasn't. I was oblivious to the world of gardening and farming pretty much. My grandparents had, they had a country house in Mississippi, Senatobia, Mississippi, where we used to spend some time several summers, and they had chickens and they used to grow certain, strawberries, select fruit trees. And, that was probably like, that was maybe building the foundation subconsciously for me. But then as I grew up, like after high school and college, I just really took on going more down the track of like someone, what people call a health nut. I like to eat healthy food. I enjoy it. I'm into it, was interested in it, and got into juicing. Started a small hustle juicing, selling juices and smoothies. And that really is what reconnected me to really caring about where my produce was coming from. Because in doing business juicing, I was just noticing like I'm going to buy wholesale quantities of produce and the quality is so poor, it's spoiling so fast. So from there, I was blessed to, be able to get this piece of land where New Brooklyn Farm currently operates. And, naturally, I was more interested in, hey, could I maybe produce food here as opposed to building or something on it? So it went kind of like healthy lifestyle, juicing business, having space to grow is the sequence.
Okay, let's talk about this New Brooklyn Farms. You from Brooklyn, right?
Not
New York.
from Brooklyn. No, I'm from
Okay,
PG
from
County, Maryland, Mount
PG
Rainier.
County, but you
Yes,
went
sir.
to New York to work or something in school.
Yeah,
Okay.
New York after college. Yep.
Okay, I'm trying to get the timeline right so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
So
no, you
from PG County, you know, I wasn't born in PG County, but I'm definitely raised in PG County. Let's talk about this New Brooklyn farm over there in Mount Rainier, Maryland. It's a unique space. It's an urban farm. It's an event space. How did you get that land, and what made you say, okay, I'm gonna do the farm on this property right here? Because when I came to look for it one day, I was like, these are all houses. I don't know where I'm at. There's
know.
no farm over here.
And that's how I wanted it to be. It's a hideaway.
Okay.
It's a speakeasy.
Okay.
So basically, the space is located right next to the house I grew up in, which my mom still lives in to this day. In Mount Rainier, in the heart of Mount Rainier on the main street. Pretty much, it used to be a boarded up kind of abandoned house when we moved there in the 90s. That house was demolished sometime over the years, and a lot just sat vacant right next to our house for several years. And I just had the opportunity to purchase that lot in 2016, and just said, look, really was interested not for farming purposes, but just as a real estate play. Like, look, this would be really cool to own something right next to, mom's house, and now we playing Monopoly. We got two properties side by side, so that was really how the space came about. and it's partially part of the reason why it can be really tough to see, because we sit up on a hill. It's on a busy street where traffic is relatively fast. So yeah.
Okay. And then you sat on the property for a minute. When did you decide to do the farm and say, okay, Mom, this is gonna be a farm. It's gonna be like event space. When did that happen? What light bulb went off in your brain?
Yeah. Really, once I started having to make those new payments, honestly, and it's shortly, like I'm like, wow, I have a mortgage, like, and I'm not renting to anybody. Like, there's only but so much you can do with this weird space on a busy street. So what can I do that's productive, other than building a house? Everyone's like, oh, this is because it's located literally a block and a half outside of the DC borderline. So, people are like, oh, you should build a house here and, make some money and flip it. And it just didn't interest me. It didn't interest me because it just, like, construction just personally at that time wasn't something that called me. And then also, you got to go raise a whole nother set of money or secure financing to build homes. And I was just so worn out from the whole process of getting to where I, secured the lot. So maybe I think I incorporated about a year after purchasing the space. I incorporated New Brooklyn Farms, is what
Okay.
I mean. And
Yes.
yeah, so, so yeah, and just said, look, this would be really cool if we got the proximity. I got access to water, electric from the house, storage for tools. If I could just cultivate this space and grow food here to provide for not only my family but the entire community at some point as we scale it up, that would be awesome. Let me see what that does, and maybe that might offset this mortgage payment. So that's how I was thinking early on.
And now you just talked about community. How did the community receive you when you decided, okay, this is gonna be a farm, and you start building some stuff on there, and then eventually people start coming into the neighborhood? How did your community receive you? Was there any backlash, or was like, this is great, let's come together, can we come and volunteer and help out? How did that go about?
Well, community early on was instrumental for me making forward progress. So I took a proactive approach though. So I got heavily involved in city council meetings. I joined our local committee called the Green Team. I attended all their meetings. I produced a video series where I go around interviewing different people in green careers around the city. Like, I really took that by the horns and said, look, I need to gain equity and build relationships in the community, after being away for so long, back and forth in New York. So, and then I won the support of the mayor, Mayor Melinda Miles, our former mayor, our council, and I was able to leverage those relationships when I needed a hand in trying to get legislation passed to permit me to do certain things. Had a good relationship and rapport with the city manager, so that code enforcement, wasn't really hassling me as I was building stuff out. So yeah, community was huge, and then of course supporters, like people who came out to my events, bought produce from my farmers and residences and over the years and things like that. The engagement on social media, press, the Hyattsville Wire, community was huge for me getting off the ground.
Okay, that's good. So that means you got some type of marketing background. Am I right?
Maybe. Nah, I do though. I worked in the marketing industry for many years, not as a creative, but more so on the business side and finance and project and program management. So yeah, I'm hip to marketing. Yeah,
Oh, that's dope. That is really cool. I love that the community came for you because I know some community is like, what is they doing? Why are they building this? Why are they putting this there? I
that's a
mean,
fact.
yeah, the goal
Don't get
is to
me
really.
wrong. It was a little bit of that, especially once I started like presenting my vision in these city council meetings and letting people know, hey, I want to build a greenhouse. I plan on doing events. They're like, oh, what about parking? What about this new traffic? Because there's an alley on the backside of my lot in my mom's house. So, like, people, there was some concerns there, but nothing ever that got critical, you know. So
Okay, what about like liquor? Did that come up? Like, did people was like, "Are you gonna serve liquor at these events?" Did anything like that come up?
nah, nah, never. And honestly, like, you know, it really isn't so much in the spirit of what I'm doing. You know, like I told you, I'm not saying I don't drink. I'm not a straight edge, but but you know, like I'm not doing anything that where there will be liquor sold on premises kind of thing. You know, and I'm not throwing parties.
Okay.
So so yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, we still want to teach healthy eating, healthy
Yeah,
drinking, healthy
yeah,
lifestyle.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
just
We
don't.
got enough people, you know, pushing liquor on our community. I don't need to be doing that, especially not from a
No,
farm. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I mean, hey, it's a good thing. You know what I'm
nah.
saying? I mean, I believe in that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a big drinker. I mean, I do drink, but I am creating a mocktail book now, and
Oh,
so I
that's
was like, okay, I can't be.
amazing.
Yeah.
Salute.
I mean, it's pretty much done. It's just I wanted to release it last year, but I was like, it was not the perfect time. I did some sampling of it, and
Love that, man. And
yeah,
that space, that industry is the zero ABV, you know, non-alcoholic beverages that exploded right now. So I'm really excited to hear that you came up with a book. Do a launch party at the spot, man. You know what it is. Come on, man.
cool. So many people want me to do their parties there. So I mean, we building
Do
this
it in my
relationship
place.
now.
Do
So we
it.
building this relationship. So I mean,
Absolutely.
that could be in the works. You know what I'm saying? And
All right.
so yeah, I'm excited about just going down that journey because it's going to be a mocktail book, which is almost like it's going to be an ebook, but it's also going to have a few hard copies. And then by the time that run its course by the end of the summer, I'll hit them with my memoirs, you know, that I already written as well, and it's ready to go. And that'll be for the holiday season. I didn't like push people to get and buy anything this year, but definitely this 2024, you can buy my book. Gardening Saved My Life, buy my mocktail book, blah blah blah. So that's what I'm trying to push now. But tell me about some of the events. I mean, since we're talking about this space, tell me some of the events that happen at New Brooklyn Farms. I mean, I've seen a couple, but I have not gone. I have met some folks that I had on another podcast that was music related that I was just blown away by. And so, yeah, tell me about some of
Yeah,
the events that go on.
absolutely. Sidebar. For the not only the mocktail, but for your personal memoir, Gardening Saved My Life. Please drop that pre-order link immediately because you have my money already, bro. Like,
Okay.
I need parts of that. That is, and I need a hard copy. I don't need an ebook. I need a hard. Like,
Okay.
but yeah, events. So I touched on, you know, my what brought me to New York was the music industry originally. I was chasing the dream of being a sound engineer, music producer, and you know, it really didn't work out very early on. But I stayed close to it by working in marketing and online media and kind of music industry adjacent companies and industry. So naturally, I'm still a music head. I love the business. I love to follow the business. I love to follow new artists and legacy artists and everything. So when I now had a business where I have a physical space, it's a no-brainer. Of course, music is going to play into that somehow, you know. So I just was interested in creating, like, you know, a platform for local artists, specifically in the DMV, to come through, make it affordable, and showcase your talent and build community, and you know, also cross pollinate with, you know, get some people involved in the farm. A lot of folks have come to a concert or a showcase at the space and then showed up the next morning to volunteer in the greenhouse. You know, that is kind of what I've tried to build, is a symbiotic relationship with music and really, like, you know, wellness and sustainability. So yeah, it's been great. Some notable folks. One of my biggest collaborators on the music side of things, more than music, really business too. But shout out to my friend Milan. Um, I think she's at Milan Soulflower. She's an R&B singer songwriter. She also owns a company around wellness, and she's produced some really successful events at the space, like really like festivals, mini festivals, packing my space out with people of all ages, races, and creeds, vendors all around, local produce, giveaways, and workshops teaching about different things. So that's kind of the vibe, and that probably best encapsulates what the perfect event experience is at New Brooklyn Farms. It's yoga, it's music, it's learning, and it's entrepreneurship with all these vendors. So
Yeah, I love that. And one of the people I met was Leaky.
oh yeah,
And
oh legal, yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah,
my God, Leaky is just like, oh my God, this is just like so blown away. When I found out about her, I was doing another podcast, and I was like, I gotta have you on. I gotta have you on. When can you do it? When can you do it? I was pressed. I was really pressed. I was really blown away by her spirit, her music, and all that
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, she is a phenomenal artist. I believe she was recruited by Death Row Records when Snoop took it over. Um, I forget, what is it? Two Faces is her
yeah,
group,
Two
I
Faces.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, amazing. She blessed the New Brooklyn stage. Yeah, many others
Oh
though.
yeah.
Many other people who's on and lit and is just really elevating right now. So yeah, it's been a pleasure.
So I see. I mean, I see a lot of similarities in what we do, and because I'm got a music background too. I wouldn't be gardening if it wasn't music, and I wouldn't be doing music if it wasn't gardening. They have to come together. So at some point we are going to work together. Let's talk about that. People, because we almost similar. I feel like there's enough room for both of us to be in this space. Do you talk about that? Because I feel like now that we have a lot of urban farmers, I feel like some of us want to be in competition with each other, and I don't like the way that
Really,
fits in my spirit.
really.
Yeah.
Humor me on that, brother. I wasn't aware of the urban farming wars. Let me know, man, because I maybe I'm not on the. Well, you in the weeds, man. Let me know what we talking about, like big influencer versus big influencer and throwing shade at each other. Is that really happening in urban farming?
It is, so
Man,
to speak. Maybe because you've been out the game for this whole past
yeah,
year,
yeah, 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 yeah. To be
but
honest, yeah.
I can't I can't get into it right now. But what's your take on, like, do you feel like there's enough money in this urban farming business for everyone? Let's put it that way.
I mean, there's not enough money in this urban farming game for anyone. Let's start there. To
Okay.
really live off of this, unless you have a nonprofit and like you pursue, heavy subsidies and grants and public money and stuff, it's not enough money for most people to sustain themselves. So let's
Yeah.
start there. This whole thing is a hobby. We're talking on an urban scale. No disrespect to anybody who has been able to, you know, raise money and have like a scalable business model where they're making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, but there are a few of those, but very few and far between. What I feel is that if I don't know, if someone else in your town buys a lot and does the exact same thing that, say, me, I've done in New Brooklyn Farms, they on the other side of even my town, Mount Rainier, we in the same city, bro. We talking small scale production. I can't serve my whole community off of a quarter acre. It's not. It just it's like the economics is not there. So I feel like there's no reason for anybody to be fighting with each other. If you fight with each other about maybe like, I don't know, because a lot of us we chase brand deals now and things like that. So maybe that's what they arguing about, but that's foolishness to me, to be honest with you. No reason to be fighting. So I'm kind of shocked that you let me know this, but nah, and everybody's story is so unique that
Yeah.
there can, whether you bought your land, whether it's your backyard, whether it's a community garden that you just turned up, like there's no there's so many nuances, and that's the beauty of this and why I love this and why I feel bulletproof.
And that's the reason. I mean, I guess that's why I wanted to open it up to you, because I have felt some of those things towards me, and I was like, I have a half an acre, and half of it is gone because I have a kitchen in my yard. I have a living room in my yard. I have a whole bunch of stuff. So I can't grow that much food, and so I'm not trying to compete with you if you running a farmer's market down the street. I just can't. I can't grow that much food to compete with you. So why are you angry with me, or why are you mad at me? And I'm thinking some of it might be have to do with like the marketing or how people perceive you from a marketing perspective. If you have a good marketing strategy behind you, because my background is in marketing, then yeah, I'm going to probably flourish more in a marketing sense of you if you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? And so it becomes that hate, that war type of
Mhm.
thing. But I'm not trying to outgrow nobody. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
still have a man. I just went back to work. I decided I was going to leave my job and I was going to do this. You know, first time leaving my parents and my siblings were entrepreneurs, but I was the one who said I'm going to the corporate world. And then I decided to leave last year, and then I was like, my black ass need to go back to work. You know, so that's where I'm at
That's a
right now.
big mood over here. I never left.
Yeah.
Always had a job. I'm so glad you touched on this because again, you can't sustain yourself doing this stuff 9 times out of 10. You know, unless you got some money or something, you can't sustain yourself with this. And I appreciate we need more transparency around the fact that, and this is not just urban farming. This is entrepreneurism across the board. Entrepreneurship is isn't a word. Entrepreneurship across the board. People have jobs, but they project themselves, present themselves to the world as full time entrepreneurs. But people be having jobs, bro. Like, come on, man. Like,
I
there's
mean, I
no
always
shame
had
in it.
maintained that job, still doing music stuff, gardening stuff. I had always, but then I got in a toxic relationship at this last job, and I was like, maybe this is the time I really need to do what my parents was doing and my siblings was doing. Let me go and do it. I mean, and it worked out good, but it wasn't like you said. It wasn't bringing in that money. You know what I'm saying? To maintain a house that I have to pay a property tax on. I don't have a mortgage, but I got pay a property tax. And
You
I
had to
was
go.
like,
You had to go get Obamacare. You
yeah,
had to
you
start
know what
paying
I'm saying?
100. You get the flu. You got to pay $100 copay.
Yeah,
You know, crazy stuff
go
like
in that garden and grow all those vegetables and herbs. So, you know, I can't, because I can't go to the doctor.
that. Boy ain't go to the doctor in 2 years. He was saying, "I'm herbal. I'm an herbalist now."
Exactly. Okay, where can I find this herbal class online so I can even learn more? I mean, and sometimes I mean that's what some people do. But I hate just that whole thing of there's a competition thing between people and I don't like it. And it's just funny that you on the line because it's just some things and I'll talk to you offline about it, but yeah. Um but it started yesterday when I end up posting some stuff. But let's get into this. Speaking of business and making money, you got into this Black Farmers Business accelerated program. Let's talk about that for a minute because you will walk away with $72,000 if you take the prize, right?
Hey
Is that
man,
how it's working?
from God willing, from your mouth to God's
Okay.
ears, I'm walking away with
When
that.
you take the
But
$72,000 in grant funding.
yeah, I take it. Yeah, I take it. What you mean? and and I mean, it may not be 72, but like Denzel said, I'm walking away with
You
something.
walking away with
You
something.
know?
Exactly. But tell me about this program. So there's one, two, three, four, five people in the there's five finalists. And
Yes.
so only one of you will walk away with the $72 thousand
Nah,
dollars, right?
nah. The total, my understanding at least is it's a total pot of 72 to be
Okay.
distributed. I'm not sure what you know how it works. Like sometimes first place winner gets the biggest pie, and then it goes down. And I'm not sure what that distribution is, but there's 72K in total funding to be awarded across the five, is what I understand it to
Oh
be.
well that's good. So like you said, you walking away with something.
Come on, come on.
I mean, I love that that is because it is five people. I know several of those people on the finals list, so that's good that I know that if you took it all, well, Yeah, if you took it all day, still will get something. So I'm really excited about that, and that brings me back to that whole competition thing about there's enough, there's enough to divide. So I like that. Tell me, how was that experience? It's because it's coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
One, how did you find out this program? In case somebody else wants to get into something like this, I try not to be gatekeepers of information. If you could talk about quickly how you got into it and what was the experience like.
Yeah, yeah. So really quickly, I think somebody sent that to me. Maybe somebody from. So what the program is called Empowered. It's called Empowered to Serve Business Accelerator. It's presented by the American Heart Association, and I think the leading sponsor for this particular initiative, in focusing on Black farmers in Maryland. This cohort of Black farmers in Maryland was sponsored by Care First, the healthcare company. So what it is it's an 8 week. It's been an 8 week course where myself and four other people in the state of Maryland that have farming related businesses. We pretty much we meet weekly. We have different modules that we go through and learn about business strategy, consumer experience, brand marketing, and messaging, everything that you really need as far as like fundamental education to start a scalable business or refine your business model. So yeah, it's been great. Our I guess you could call her our cohort leader or our teacher, if you will. Her name is Krista. She is contracted by American Heart Association, so she's been doing this for a long time with other entrepreneur cohorts. I'm not sure, but I think this is one of the first ones they did solely focusing on farmers or people with farm businesses. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And yeah, it's coming to a close on February 7th. We'll have this in-person pitch meeting where we're gonna all go on stage, have like a 5 minute pitch, and tell our stories and try to get secure some bags. That's pretty much what it is.
Are you excited, nervous? Well, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm kind of been doing this a long time. I told you I incorporated in 2017. I've had the opportunity to tell my story on several different platforms, live in person as well. So I'm not too nervous. I'm just trying to really focus right now on refining and meeting certain criteria that they're looking for. The other thing I want to say about this program is they look for, because it's the American Heart Association, they're not concerned with solely a scalable farm business. They want to focus on how your business can also scale health impact and drive health impact and improve health outcomes in your community. So it's like marrying that into my business model has been the task. So it's great though.
That's what's up. Are you gonna come out with your AZ music and do your little bop and then do your pitch like
Man,
that?
if I could, I would. If I could, I would. But I don't know. They not too fancy with this one. I don't even think they're
Okay.
gonna stream it. I'm gonna, after we hop off, I post a flyer. It is in downtown Baltimore near the Inner Harbor. Only way you can see it live is to be there. So RSVP. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put together a little reel and and show myself looking all fly and pitching on stage and winning some money.
Okay.
That's
That's
the
what's
kind of
up.
content we need.
Um, cheers to you. Hopefully, you take the first place to get the big sum of money,
Thank you,
and
brother. I
then the
appreciate
other folks can follow behind you and get a little bit of that money too, because they need it too.
I, I,
Alrighty.
I need that too, bro. I need that. Let's go.
Yeah. So let's go back to the farm because we're talking gardening and stuff. So let's talk about residents and programming at your farm. So
Yeah,
each year you try to dedicate a certain farmer or gardener to come in and do a residence. How does that happen? How do you choose those folks? Break that
yeah,
down
for
to me.
sure. It's really, I got to be humble about it because it just came again. It came from a place of necessity. Be honest with you. I started off in 2017. I'm going back and forth managing my life between Brooklyn and trying to come down every weekend to back home to Mount Rainier and trying to be the farmer myself, and I'm not here and I can't manage the crops. I knew I needed help. I needed help though in an organized way. I thought about trying to rely on volunteers, but volunteers can sometimes not be, have the consistency you need if you're trying to grow at scale for business. So I said, look, let me just let somebody else or find a way to incentivize somebody from my community who's also an entrepreneur to pretty much use the bulk of this space or a large portion of the space for whatever they want to grow. And then in exchange, they help me with the crops that I'm trying to maintain. For at the time, I had some business clients. You help you water my stuff, you weed my stuff when you come and take care of yours, and it's one hand wash the other. And then another component is cross promotion. These entrepreneurs all have their own brands and social media followings and things like that. So we would cross promote each other, and I needed that early on as I was trying to build my exposure up. So it's really formally called the New Brooklyn Farms Farmer in Residence Program. It's a seasonal program where we welcome a local. It's been really all women entrepreneurs, which I'm really happy that it worked out like that. But all are welcome to apply, and I'm trying to really develop a legacy cohort of just inclusion across the board. So any and everyone is welcome to apply, but on a seasonal basis, I have somebody in there. You're growing your stuff. You have access to market opportunities. You can do pop-ups in my space. You can be a vendor at some of these events I have, and I'm just there to support you. There's no money being exchanged. It's just love and just exchange of value. Like, look, help me out. You know what I'm saying? You see my crops, my kale is wilting. Throw some water on it. You come in here to do your stuff. That's the spirit of it. It's a strategic partnership with entrepreneurs in the community. So yeah, season number. What we have. I'm currently on farming residence number 6.
Oh, wow.
You know.
So I
Yeah, man.
didn't even know that. I just know of one person, and now this person that you have now. Let's talk about her because you
Uh,
asked me, could she come on and be a part of this? Gave it a date she couldn't make it, but let's talk about her. Who is
she's
she, and how did
so
she get selected? And yeah,
yeah.
break it down.
Yeah, for sure. So this season, we're welcoming a woman by the name of Cheryl Dixon, a native Washingtonian. I think she did a master gardener program. I can call her a master gardener. She's heavily invested and active in so many urban farming kind of related spaces and programming, and she's a grant reviewer, and she does a whole lot of stuff in this space. She's well seasoned. She has really come in. I think she started maybe like in November and hit the ground running. Uh, you know, just really reinvigorating the soil. She's having a lot of success with winter crops right now, all through the winter. She's having beautiful kale and broccoli and cabbage and beets and doing things that, and for this time of year in at New Brooklyn Farms, is unprecedented. You know what I mean? She's coming every day in the 7-degree weather and stuff like that. Like
Oh
she's
wow.
just really she's rock solid, and I'm really blessed and excited to have her. So y'all will see me post a bio about Cheryl soon, but yeah, like that's a huge win for me. And the farm and residence really also is just a nucleus. They are the nucleus of this whole thing throughout the whole year. Because if I don't have that, I'm in a place in my life where I got a career. I have a 9-year-old son. Like it would be hard for me to try to be everything. This is almost like my seasonal business partner. So I'm just blessed to have locked somebody that's great in, man.
That's what's up. You said all folks are able to apply for this. Why haven't you seen any male gardeners or farmers join your
Man,
program?
that's a good question. That's a good question that I don't have the answers to, my man. Like it just hasn't worked out yet. Maybe it speaks to the lack of interest within the male community in gardening, or in a committed way at least. So that's a bigger problem. That's above my pay grade. I have facilitated events in my space that encourage males reconnecting to nature. Recently had a live podcast shot in our green event space by a very popular podcast called Let's Talk Bruh, where they had I think it was like 5 or 6 guys on the panel in the middle of my space just talking about reconnecting to nature and what it's done for them. So I'm here for it, but it just hasn't happened yet. So
Okay. And I'm trying to encourage that too. I want to see more black and brown brothers out there doing it. They
you
out
get
there
a
for,
fair amount on the
yeah.
show though, I feel. Yeah.
It's a lot because those are the ones that like they. So all the women always come. It's like thousands of women in my inbox, farmers and gardeners and cannabis and ranchers and stuff. And I was like, I mean, I'm gonna dedicate March to all the women. You know what I'm saying? But next
Okay.
week I will have a woman on. But it's just like, okay, where are these brothers at? And I'm like, I'm I'm almost like begging, almost so to speak, to hear the brothers' stories.
I
You
feel
know what I'm saying? And I was
I
like,
feel like it's more of them in the South because
yeah,
it's more in the culture. Like Northeast, dudes is hustling and getting fly and stuff, so it's a little bit harder to squeeze in and justify. Hey, I'm managing the garden this season. It's not that common in the Northeast as it is in the South.
but
So
you think if we had more programming in school, more green type jobs, more green communities, we could push that out to younger males?
yeah, it is I think it is something that has to start with earlier exposure. There's a lot of great nonprofits that do this work, that work with like, creating garden programs for elementary schools. Shout out to Ronnie Webb, who I think was on the
Yeah.
show. He's owner of the Green Scheme. That's what they do, is a lot of youth programming and, certain wards in DC. And I think that that's going to be instrumental in changing this narrative of, it's men don't really garden in the DMV as
And
much. So
it could be a viable career if it was set up right.
yep, yep. I mean, even what he's doing is a viable career. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a nonprofit, sustains himself, employs people, and is doing great work. So I mean, it's not only managing the garden. You can be an educator. I know you working with Deep Roots on the farming. I'm sorry, the camp initiative. This summer, which is amazing. That could be a career for somebody. So it's a lot of ways that you can get involved as a man.
That's what's up. Let's talk about what advice would you give someone who want to be like you, who want to get that land, open up a farm, do a residence program, get into an accelerator business cohort thing. What advice would you give someone?
Please, 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 do not quit your job. Do not think about quitting your job. That's what I would say to anybody. And if you don't have a job, go get one before you start messing around with this stuff. Because you know what I'm saying? That, like, really, I credit all of my success, all of the doors that I've been able to open up for myself by bootstrapping and investing in my land and investing in my materials and my greenhouse. It would not be possible if I didn't have a steady income. So that's number one. Number two is I credit volunteering as, like, pretty much, like, if I didn't volunteer, for like maybe like the first 2 seasons, I was volunteering heavily at different farms in both in New York and in the DMV. I really don't know where I would be. I may be ignorant to a lot of things. I would have probably wasted more money not knowing what I was doing. So farms farming is an industry that generally welcomes volunteers. There's tons of outlets for you to show up on a Saturday morning, and do some, it might be some grunt work, it might be some fun work that you enjoy. You might be weeding, you might be planting seedlings, but guess what? In that process, you talking to people, you can ask questions. You got, hey, how did you even get this space? How did you get into this? That's how it works. You know what I mean? So volunteering, and then if you can, just try to have a job that allows you some expendable income to slowly but steadily continue to invest if you want to go the business route. And you could also go nonprofit. And that's something that I chose not to do at the beginning. I'm an LLC. benefit LLC. But like going nonprofit is a different calculus as well, because you don't have all the pressures, the overhead on you, assuming you're able to raise funding. Your grind, my grind is trying to get customers. Your grind is trying to get funders, and then you just take that funders' money, spread love, which is great. It's not your money,
Hmm.
and you able to take some a reasonable percentage off of it. So yeah, to consider nonprofit too is what I tell people.
And that's a good that's a good thing. I am a LLC as well. And it's funny you mentioned that, because then it just go back to the people like we was talking about before, the haters, or the ops as they call them now. When I was like in this, and they've been seeing my work, I'm working with kids. I always had work with kids and doing gardening, and building my own garden and being a beekeeper and everything. And they was like, oh, so you a LLC, so you just trying to make money, so you're not really about the people. And I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? I just chose to go to the LLC route because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't have the time to invest in a nonprofit, which could take a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? And then you, just like an LLC, you chasing for that client. You want to get that next business deal, blah blah blah. With a nonprofit, you looking for that next grant. You looking for that next person to support you, blah blah blah. It's a give and take. You know what I'm saying?
Man, like it's crazy, man. That whole hater thing. But we're not going to dwell on negativity right now. But
Yeah, of course not.
nah,
Because we
nah,
gotta get to $72,000.
come on. We in
But I
competition with
know,
ourselves.
I just wanted to throw that out there because you mentioned that, because you was an LLC, and when I chose that route, I did get some backlash from people who chose not to work with me because I'm an LLC versus a nonprofit, and I was like, that's crazy. I'm doing the work, and you're
Doing the
not
work,
doing the work.
doing the work. Well, that's their problem, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Look at you and look
oh
at them.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, I'm an Aries, so I don't give a F regardless. Because that's how
oh,
Aries roll. I mean, we the most sweetest person, the nicest person too, and the humblest person ever. But we can be that asshole too. And it's like sometimes I just don't care. Okay, now when they said that to me, it's like, okay, now I know how to approach you, how I wanna build a relationship with you. Because you already told me up front how you get down. And so it's like, okay, cool. You guys keep it moving.
right, right.
But how has this whole farming, gardening thing changed you since you started?
Mm. That's a great question, man. That's like a Barbara Walters level question, man. Excellent journalism right there. Um, how has it changed me?
Yeah, I had, well, before you answer, I had some folks that got on here and I asked the question. Two guys actually, they started crying. And then, as being a person that's in
I should be like,
journalism and background is in journalism and broadcast journalism, you supposed to kind of like keep your opinion out of it. And I was like, I'm about to be in tears. And I was like, I got to hold it down for another 20 minutes.
yo. All right, so I'll say definitely it it has made me more patient as a person. You know,
Okay.
because gardening or farming, because of the cyclical seasonal nature of it, and like the inevitable failures that you have as a beginning gardener or farmer, it really just humbles you. And assuming that you have the grit to stick with it, and like let's say, oh, I got a a business client who wants me to deliver 100 pounds of kale this season, and I'm gonna do it. I have the space, I got the seeds, I got good soil. I'm gonna do it. And you go in all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then guess what? You might have some weird weather. Our weather is so unpredictable now. I experienced that even back to 2017 when I first started growing. And then guess what? All that kale does not grow the way you expected, and you can't meet this business contract or your business customers' need. That's really humbling. And if you are able to deal with that grief of failing, and then you say, look, there's always next season, but guess what? Next season is next year. So you got to really have just really the long term vision to know that every season is a fresh start, but there will be bumps and bruises in the road, and I think every season I fail in some kind of way, but I always get back up. I take the winner and I learn, I network, I go to conferences and things like that, and that's been my rhythm. And on a cycle of this, I've been able to remain optimistic and ambitious. So I say and I'm looking. It's crazy for me to say I've been doing this for wow, 7 years. This is now year 7. It's crazy for me to say that, but it feels like nothing. So yeah, I'm just more of a long term thinker, long term planner, and person. And I think the only other thing that has changed me is it's changed for me is it's really given me a sense of identity. I can't even lie about that anymore. Like this journey has changed my life in so many ways within farming, but also within my professional career. Some of the the close friends that I have right now have really come through this journey, and all of that has molded me to the person I am today. So those are the two biggest things.
I mean, that is a lot. That's a good thing to know. Like, even for me, like when I started in gardening, it was from a bad space and into a new space. And I just found my sense of purpose. And I believe this is my purpose. And so when you can feel that, and get that inside you, that is a great thing. That's like life. That's like freedom for me. That sounds like freedom to you from where I hear. You might not look at it like that, but that's what I hear coming out of it. It's like this is freedom for me, and
Yeah,
that's
it's absolutely freedom and purpose. Um, but I'm the kind of guy. I'm very I like to look at both sides of the coin. Um, Freedom is not free. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Like there's a lot of sacrifice on the other side of that. A lot of responsibility. A lot of disappointment that you have to go through to achieve your freedom. But I definitely feel free. You know, black owned land, black owned farm is powerful. You know what I'm saying? It's powerful for anybody of any race or background to really wake up and say, "Yo, I own a farm, bro." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's ill. It's powerful. It's gotten me in places and spaces that I never thought I'd be. So I just encourage people to chase that dream. You know what I'm saying? For real, but just be realistic. Keep yourself grounded while chasing the dream. You
and
know.
not romance it as
Over
Jason.
romance it.
Yeah, Jason White said last week. He said most urban farmers romance urban farming and gardening and all of that stuff. And so I was like, wow, he hit that. That was like, whoo. I see some people doing that, and then they burn out. You know what I'm saying?
Burn out
Oh,
fast. Burn out
yeah.
fast. How many pandemic gardener pages I know that after that 2020 season, boy, I'm like refresh, refresh, refresh. 2, 3 years later. I can't talk though, because I took a year off though. You know what I'm saying? We talked about how last
Yeah,
year, I took my first
but
season
that
off.
wasn't
I
because
still was doing stuff. I
yeah,
still have it. Look,
and you and it wasn't because like okay, the pandemic is kind of over, so now I'm gonna go back to my normal life. I'm not gonna do this garden thing. That's how some of my clients were. They was like, "Oh, I need this garden so bad," they jeopardizing my life, their life to come out and help them. And then a year later or 2 years later, it's like a bunch of dirt, rotten wood in their yard. Like, so you gonna jeopardize my life and then
look
not
like
do
some look
nothing?
like them garden boxes you see in the public schools. Just
Yes.
just left behind for dead. Look like a nuclear bomb just let off or something.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
folks, if you're in the room and you listening and enjoying this conversation me and Doug is having, if you have any questions, this is your time to ask the question. Well, put them in the little question box down at the bottom so I can put it up on the screen so everybody can see it. So if you do have some questions, you might want to ask him, how did he get a permit to do this land farm? Is he certified to have a farm? Did he go through the USDA? How do he get grant money? If you want some of those questions, put them in there. Me and him talked a long time the other night, so I kind of already know where he's at. But if you want to know how he did some of this stuff, put it in the question box
I
so we
got a
can.
question for you,
Yeah.
Kamani. I've been thinking about this for a couple years, and it's coming back to me because I see the house plants in your background, which are beautiful.
Hmm.
Might I add, how do you see the relationship between the rise and the emergence of the plant mom and plant dad with the more like people who went for the garden, pursued the outdoor or indoor gardening route during the pandemic? Because they're very different. Like if you're a plant mom and plant dad, usually that context is these house plants, you know. But I think that's a very different thing from urban farming. Have you seen anybody put that together, or do you feel that there's a relationship there? Or are they kind of like just adjacent but different worlds?
I think they're all in the same world.
You think it's the same? Okay.
In my opinion, it just looks differently because people are saying plant mom, plant dad, or whatever. But I think they're all in the same world. I believe a lot of people came into when COVID hit and they started becoming plant moms and plant dad. It was because of the health benefits of plants, and people don't know that. You know, there's a lot of benefits you get from these plants. You like, so COVID was like a upper respiratory
Okay. Yeah,
virus.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah. The
so
air
you have a bunch of
purification.
snake plants in your house that cleans your air. I have over 300 house plants in my
Oh
house right now.
man,
And they like everywhere. There's so many. It's like I gotta put them in the basement now, where I'm at currently at now.
I know
And so
you got gnats in the house then, all them plants.
I have it. I mean, I don't have them currently, but I have had them, and them things drive me
Man,
crazy. I'm like, I'm
you
ready to
be on a Zoom call like,
jump out the
yeah,
window in front of a car. They're trying
yo.
to
Nah,
escape
for
them.
real. But if you can manage that piece of it, like that's an amazing thing. My
Yeah,
mom has a lot of house plants too, and it's something that I aspire to do. But I don't know, the house plant care is so plants are so finicky, and that really is a whole nother undertaking in and of itself,
yeah.
outside of like trying to grow food. So
So like I said, I think they become hand in hand. The people who are plant moms, that's because they probably also lived in an apartment, so they couldn't really be outside. But
mm,
I think if you become a house plant person, eventually you're going to become a gardener, and then some way down the line, you might become a farmer or a rancher. But I think that it's like how they say like. They always say like marijuana is a gateway to other drugs. I feel
mm,
like houseplants is a gateway to farming
mm,
and
mm,
gardening.
mm. I've just seen so many people just stop at houseplants though. So that what I'm saying, to your point, you were like, oh, they eventually end up gardening. They might be more interested in it than in seeing it or researching it than the average person. But I've seen so many people just stop there, and like I just like wow,
And
like,
that's
and maybe there's something to dig deeper
yeah.
into from.
I think they need to dig deeper, but I think it's that journey. It's that journey, and so once you figure out like these house plants can make your space more air friendly, and you had asthma, you had some eczema or something, and these house plants are helping you breathe more and getting rid of that. The next thing you're gonna look into is like, okay, the eczema is still there, but this air quality is good. What is the next step to get rid of this eczema that I can do from a eating perspective, and that may take you to a hydroponic journey first, and then you see that grow, and then okay, I got a little bit of money now. I got me some money in my 401k. Now I'm about to buy me a house so I can get me some land, and then I can cultivate some more plants outside, grow some food, and then who knows? It could turn into a business like New Brooklyn Farm. I think it's a step process, it's a journey, and once you figure out what the journey is, then I feel like more people will eventually go. I know a person who started during the pandemic who had house plants, thousands of house plants. Now they're freaking. beekeeper, and then they became a beekeeper, and then now they're growing their food. And so the bees work with the growing the food, and then growing some more house plants outside, and then taking them inside, and they're selling them at little pop up places. And so and I think it's the journey that people on, and I think they do coexist.
Mm,
They not opposite.
mm,
I want to get to one question first, and then I have one other question, and I'll let you get out of here.
yeah.
But Mother Butterfly 20 said, "What does a regular day at the farm look like for you?"
Well, for me, I'm not there every day, but a regular day at the farm in general looks like probably my farmer resident showing up in the morning, tending to her plants. You know, she oftentimes will call me to discuss, you know, certain, you know, technical things like, hey, we got an issue with the water, or you know, hey, this I'm noticing some plant disease in this area. You know, we might need some more compost, or letting me know what the needs are and stuff like that. And then, and this is like currently in the wintertime, but in the summertime, it might look like that same sequence followed by we might have a volunteer day later in after or late in the morning, like 10 to 12, have volunteer hours. People come out, show up. We you know we always provide gloves and tools and snacks and just really take an opportunity to build community with those volunteer days that recur. And then also that might be followed by an event. Somebody might have rented a space out for a yoga and mindfulness workshop, and you sit outside the greenhouse in the green event space area, and you know, do yoga under the sun, and you know, just inhale some fresh air as the space is surrounded by these really large oak trees. Um, and yeah, just get grounded, connect to the soil, and then we might have another. This is really a day that happened, and then we might have the yoga event followed by a showcase, a music showcase that evening, maybe like 3 to 7 or something. You know what I mean? We'll have some local artists show up, bring out sound equipment, mixing boards. You know, we've had some pretty well produced music based events at the space. There might be, you know, vendors along the perimeter of the event selling different, you know, juices and, you know, herbal teas and, you know, different stuff like that. You know, so that's what a day could look like in the you know, in our busier months. But right now, it's mostly the farmer residents coming, managing her crops, and checking in with me. And we are starting to look into, you know, kind of infrastructure, you know, kind of improvements. Let me get some things done with the greenhouse to improve the frame. I've had it for a few years. I'm just starting to get into that phase of what can we do now to get the space up leveled by the spring. So yeah.
I just have one follow up question with this. Do you have any paid staff working on the farm?
Currently, no, but I always have, and it's just like contract basis, more or less. I did have a farm manager for a couple seasons who was paid fairly regularly, but currently I only have the farm in residence. But yeah, not any like meaningfully like full time or even part time paid staff.
Okay, that's what's up. So, folks, if you still on this live, please go and sign up to volunteer so he can get some more help, and then you can learn. You can learn how to garden. You can learn how to grow your own food. You can get into some house plants and all that good stuff. My last and final question for you, Doug, is: what does the future look like for New Brooklyn Farms as well as yourself? What does the future look like?
Yeah, the future is gonna, like, you know, if I'm manifesting right now or trying to manifest right now, it's gonna look like, you know, me copping some more lots. Straight up and doing this in other cities, or you know, it might be a lease or lease to own, but ownership is the goal. But we want to control lots in other cities and replicate this model of one part green event space, one part urban farm. You know, specialty production focus. And then, you know, just scale it from there. Also looking to integrate tech more so into this, trying to find ways to leverage technology and track health outcomes by way of the space being a hub for food access, culture, education, trying to aggregate that data and just really be able to better articulate what our impact is. That's something that this accelerated course has really opened my eyes to as something I really need to spend more time doing. So,
I agree with that. I believe technology, data, and then also what we talked about last week was nutrition. Because I
mm-hmm.
feel like nutrition is still a missing part in urban farming.
Sure.
Some folks in the urban community, or even white folks, brown folks, they might not know how to cook kale or know how to cook don't know how to cook a butternut squash, but the benefits are there, and so we have to teach them about that nutrition part of it. But you definitely hit on that technology and data, and I hope that this program that you're in, you get that big money so you can take those steps to create some kind of technology database tracking, not to be tracking people, to be tracking, because you know how people, you say tracking or getting data, people get scared, you know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
you get
I'm
that
trying.
information for, you know
Do
what
it
I'm
in a
saying?
way that
That's,
do it in a way that's compliant and make sure we got the proper consent is top of mind for sure. So yeah.
yeah, because I mean that stuff works. I do work for a nonprofit, and we have a partnership deal with Instacart, and bringing Instacart to Ward 8 and Ward 7, the most marginalized community in the city. And those folks were scared to give up their information, but you get a $60 Instacart card for 6 months
Mm.
to get fresh food, and then they also deliver it to you. And, you know, some Ubers when I'm late at work, there's some Ubers I can get Uber to the train station from over there in that ward. So that was a good deal, but they had to give up some type of information, and some of them were scared. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Yeah.
might get this card, you know what I'm saying, and you need this card, so
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
your
Rightfully
information.
so. Rightfully so. But I think it just being available is a win. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to let you go. Thank you for your time. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning
I
with
appreciate
me.
it, man.
Um,
Keep it
yeah.
inspiring. We look forward to hearing your story that you share with me offline. But yeah, man, like for real, man, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for featuring me and giving me this platform, this opportunity to just remind myself, you know what I'm saying? I gotta keep going out here,
Yeah,
you know
you
what I'm
got to
saying?
keep
So
going. We all got to
much
keep
love.
going until we can't go no more. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't over till it's over,
Yeah.
man. All right?
So, folks, next week we have a young lady coming in. Her name is Karen Knights. She's going to be my feature guest next week. It's going to be a really inspiring conversation. She sells seeds. She does all kinds of stuff. And she just started out her business because she saw somebody like Doug Adams a couple of years ago. And she decided that she's going to turn her business of growing flowers and fruits and vegetables into a business. So you want to tune in and hear her story. But I always leave with live your life healthy, free from negativity. And as always, black people, we gotta stay dope. All right? Peace.